Hello, I'm using the new camera, which is not new. It's been in my house for a while. We just don't get along. And we're still not really getting along, but we've reached a tentative understanding. And we can work together. We're going to keep it professional, and we're not going out for drinks after work. This is not a social relationship. So, this one has come off the big loom. It is ridiculous. I haven't finished it, I haven't wet finished it, because I haven't twisted the fringes just yet. I used to have a rule with myself that I couldn't warp up a new project until I'd twisted the fringe on the old project. But the thing about that rule was that I'm the one who set it, and there were no consequences if I ignore it. So I've just been ignoring it. But I'll show you the length because it's amazing and ridiculous. And I think I'm in frame, yes. So it is the hot pink, yellow and purple. It is a fluffy chenille type yarn, and it's just so ridiculous. I want to get some more of this yarn in other colours because it does weave up really, really beautifully, and it's just soft and snuggly. And I didn't use all 3 balls. I've still got a full ball and a little bit more left over. So this might turn up in something else at some point. So it just needs a wash. Well, it needs its fringes twisted, and then it can have a wash. And I will show you that next week. I don't expect much to happen to this chenille type yarn. I don't think it'll bloom or shrink or anything like that. I do expect some shrinkage in this cotton that I have in the warp, and I don't know what the wool and acrylic blend is going to do. We'll find out. So that's ready for its fringes and ready to be wet finished. Now I have something on the big loom that took 19 hours to warp up, and I'm only exaggerating slightly. So I'm going to tell you about that, and I am expecting you to please be very impressed. This took forever to warp up. I'll tell you why. The reason is because of this yarn. Now this is the yarn that I wanted to use for this weave because I've had it in the stash forever. This was released by Spotlight, and I suspect it was immediately discontinued. I don't think it was one of their more popular offerings. It's called Nimbin. It is a ribbon yarn, but it's not designed for you to sort of crochet, gather up into a string and crochet with. The idea behind it was that you would line up these loops on the side with another set of loops on another length of the yarn and crochet through those loops. Really fiddly, really annoying. So I did try it because they released a pattern for a vest. I'm just getting to the other end of the yarn behind you. Hang on. They released a pattern for a vest in this yarn, and I loved it. So I bought a load of the yarn. I sat down to crochet it into panels. I changed the pattern because I'm chonky and the pattern was not. So I adjusted the pattern, sat down to crochet into all these loops, and then by the time I got to the end, it was already shorter than it needed to be because it had fallen apart. So then I tried doing it with a peg, and that didn't work really either. I decided it was all too much, and I stuck it in the stash. And I keep finding it in the stash and going, it's so many lovely colours, I must do something with it. The time has come. So I've pulled out the varied end heddle, and I will show you a proper view of that right about now. And a varied end heddle means that you can use yarns of extremely different sizes. So I'm going to explain what I mean. If you don't weave, you won't know what I'm talking about. And if you do weave, you might not know what I'm talking about because I'm never very clear. This is a standard heddle. This is for the little loom, obviously. This one is a 5 dent, which means you get 5 threads or 5 ends per inch. You can use any yarn that will fit through those holes and any yarn that is thinner than that yarn that will fit through the holes, but you can't use a thicker yarn. Whereas with a varied end heddle, you get a load of little sections of different heddle sizes. I think that's a 12.5. That's a 7.5, I believe. So you can combine these however you like to create the heddle to do whatever project you like, which is what I've done. What I did have to do was reconfigure the heddle when I was halfway through dressing the loom because I didn't have quite as much of this as I thought I did, and I ran out, and I still had some gaps at the back there where I had this big 2.5 dent. So I had to take the top off. You can take the top off. I'm pointing at it. You can't see it. It's not in shot, but there is a top on the heddle. Lifted that off, readjusted everything, and carried on. But that's partly why it took so long. So this is a mix of sock yarn. This is nearly the end, I hope, of that silly socks yarn that I used to make a vest, cardigan, not a vest, cardigan, the other year, whenever that was. This is Panda Funshine, which looks like this in the ball. I'm using this for the weft. Weft. This is the Nimbin. This is some Bendigo Woolen Mills nonsense in there. And so it's just a mix of yarns. The initial plan was to use this red, you can see this red here maybe, as the weft. But then when I put this blue in, I thought that's going to be really hard on the eyes. So we'll just go with the Funshine because I need to use that up as well. How's the tension? Terrible. I knew it was going to be bad going in. The reason being, this ribbon yarn is really, really tricksy. It has its own thoughts. It shouldn't. So this has a weird stretch in that sometimes it's not stretchy and sometimes it is stretchy. So I've lashed it all onto the front beam, which is where you use the string to go like that. I've cleared that up. It's very clear. You're welcome. And I had it really, really tight because I knew that there was going to be tension issues. And even so, as soon as I started to weave, it's gone quite floppy. The other reason that there's going to be more tension problems as we go is because this is going to be tighter on the front beam and this is going to have more room to move. So this is going to loosen up. This is possibly going to tighten up. I don't know. So I'm using the Funshine in yellow at the moment, and then I will switch to the Funshine in blue, which looks like that, which I just showed you, I believe. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. And that will alternate, not in any kind of planned way. Just we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. It's not going to have a fringe because this ribbon yarn does fall apart so easily. I don't think it would twist very nicely either, and I don't want to hem it. I could have gone across with the fringe and done a little folded hem on each individual strand. But do you know what? I'm really not interested in doing that, so we're not going to. I don't know how I'm going to finish it yet. I might do a ribbon encased end, but that's a long way away because that is just the beginning. That is just the very start. I've got a lot more to do before I worry about how I'm going to finish it. But I am pleased to have a stash bust on the loom. I am pleased to actually be busting some stash without buying more yarn to go with other yarn. On the little loom, I have more stash busting. So this loopy yarn is from my aunt's stash. It is a wool and synthetic blend. I don't have the labels for it. There weren't any labels on it in the stash. So I burnt it, did the burn test. It is wool and synthetic. I would suggest probably nylon because it's very strong and I can use it as warp. So that's blending in there with this one, which I also have in the warp. This is Bendigo Woolen Mills Dolce, which is a wool and bamboo blend. I had 2 balls of this in 2 shades of purple. I suspect I had a plan, and I can't remember what that plan was, so it's going in the stash bust pile. Now, I've got the textured yarn here just in the slots, and I'm going to see if I can show you what I mean by that. Yes, I can. Look, it's a bit sticky, but that's okay. So I've alternated the warp so that it goes loopy yarn, plain yarn, because the loopy yarn would be quite grabby and hang on to its neighbours. And also it doesn't really fit very easily through the holes in the heddle. So I've just got that in the slots. It's a technique I use a lot. I wouldn't be upset if you were bored with me using this technique, but I love how it comes out, so I do it a lot. So that's very fresh because there's my hem stitching. And maybe off the loom for next week, I don't know. Now I've also got some cross stitch to talk about. So last week, hang on, I'm coming back. Last week, I was working on Myrtle the Turtle, and I said that I didn't like the yellow that was in the instructions. I didn't like the colour that was chosen for the yellow for the flowers. So I ordered more yellow, and while I was waiting for that to arrive, which I think is on board for delivery today actually, I was working around that and doing other bits of the flowers. But then it got to the stage where I had to do a lot of counting. Now, I'm not confident counting over empty squares on Ada fabric. I'm certainly not confident doing it on even weave. So I put Myrtle, oh, she's very out of shot. Up we go. Get in the light maybe, I don't know. So I've put Myrtle to one side temporarily while I'm waiting for my yellow to arrive. And I did start on Ellie. Now, when I saw the chart for Ellie, I thought, I think I'm probably going to be a little bit bored. And I am a little bit bored. So here's how Ellie's going. Get that in shot. Ellie is a lot of pink. I'll show you what she's going to look like. Got not enough hands. So there's Ellie, and you can see that she is just a big block of pink. She's out of focus, I think. Big block of pink with a little bit of decoration. So I thought, well, let's just get that big block of pink out of the way. So that's what I'm doing. I am slightly concerned in the back of my mind that I don't have enough of this pink. I can order more. I'd rather not have to. So if I do run out of the pink, I will continue with the rest of the design, because I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to run out of one of the blues as well, because there's a lot of blue in the bird. There's a third chart, which is the bird. So I will just, if I run out of thread, I will just work around that and then do an order of more than one skein of thread, because I think postage is $9.95. That's ridiculous for one little thread. So we will see how I get on, but that's where we're at with Ellie, and that's where we're aiming for with Ellie. So I did do the top of the ear just so that I could get everything in the right place, because that was the middle of the fabric, was the top of the ear. So that's, am I even remotely in shot? So my problem at the moment is that I'm using my camera up a bit. There we go. I'm using my camera as a viewfinder, because the viewfinder on this little camera does not stay on. There's no setting to do it. I did manage to get into the app. So I have my phone as the viewfinder, which is underneath the camera, and I keep holding things up like that towards my phone, which means you can't see them because the lens is there. This modern technology thing, it's doing my head in. Anyway, that is all I have for you this week. Thank you so much for watching. You take care of yourself. Maybe by next week, me and this camera will have reached a happier understanding. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.